And we're live, folks. Back again. This is your host of Literature, JP, aka The Demon. And we are here, finally, starting our week-by-week, part-by-part read of Rhythm of War. But before that, at the same time, we're going to release our discussion on Dawnshard. And those of us who are here are the only ones cool enough to have read it.
That's us.
Yes. So Dawnshard. We're actually talking Dawnshard. And tonight, right after this, we're going right in to Rhythm of War.
Part 1.
Part 1. Only part 1, because we're going part by week. So, little introduction of the cool cats who decided to, I don't know.
Show up.
Do
Read
some.
the book. We got the cherry. How's it going?
Brett, the director.
Ben the Hitman.
Why am I not surprised? By the way, we did have confirmation that at least Manny is right now finishing the last 2 chapters of Rhythm of War Part 1. So that's pretty exciting.
Nice.
So he's doing
he will
that
be
while
here.
we're doing this.
All right.
So,
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. So, great points. I don't know how this is all going to shake out, but essentially, I do want to let you guys know that we're talking Dawnshard. However, we read Dawnshard, and then we read Part 1 of Rhythm of War. This episode is solely focused on Dawnshard. That means that we're not going to get into... Although let's be honest, there wasn't really much in Part 1 that Dawnshard really... You could tell it's going to play a big part in this book and bridging the gap, but what we get, not much in Part 1. But anyway, it's spoiler-free for Part 1, as best as we can, and I don't think we'll ruin anything, really.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not.
So Dawnshard.
Yeah, so Downshard. So,
Rysn.
Yeah.
Finally get to see her again after she was more in part 1 and then
Oathbringer.
or the first book.
Yeah.
Right? Where she was the what is it called? The kind of like tutelage of what's his name? Can't remember.
Herbabsk.
Babsk. Yeah, Babsk. And she's finally kind of come onto her own. She is piloting one of the best ships in the world, probably, it sounds like an amazing ship.
Yeah. Something that I got, and I don't know if you guys felt this way, but when we're reading The Way of Kings, which is actually pretty cool because there is some tidbits in the beginning of Way of Kings where the Dawnshard is actually mentioned. However, that just tells you how much Sanderson has been kind of building some of these little ideas in his books, and it has to do with a death quote. There's a death quote in The Way of Kings. I can't exactly remember. I think it was earlier on in the book, but they mentioned the Dawnshard. And but it's really cool because in The Way of Kings, we meet her in an interlude. I think it was Way of Kings, right? Not Words of Radiance?
Yeah, I think it was the first book.
Anyway, correct. Whichever, one of the first 2 books. But she's very, childlike almost. You could tell she's kind of very young and a very willing student. But reading Dawnshard, you get to see how much... Holy cow, she matured.
Yeah.
She is legit.
I think even more than childlike, she was almost more like in a teenage, maybe a bit rebellious, still young, and immature, but also trying to be adult-like, but at the same time throwing little not tantrums, but being I'm unique and I know I'm getting where I know what I'm doing, and this is also boring.
I feel like for sure older than Lift. Definitely more mature than Lift, but not that much older than Lift.
Yeah. I would say she's 20.
Really?
At least, yeah.
Oh, man.
I
Maybe
was thinking then she was
in
13 is what I was thinking.
I was thinking 16 in the interludes. I was thinking teenager.
Yeah,
that's
teenager.
what I thought.
I would have thought 20s.
Maybe one of our encyclopedia group of awesome fans could help us out on that one. We may not have that info. I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't know what age she was in the interlude.
Gotcha.
Even in the interlude, she grows a lot, especially.
Yeah, because by the time you get to Oathbreaker, it's she's now a professional accountant for the Queen.
Yeah.
So I mean, but also paralyzed.
And has a magical little beast with her.
Yes. What are they called? Larkins?
It is a Larkin.
A
but
Larkin.
what does she name her?
Yeah, what was the Larkin's name? Why do we not remember this? Oh my
Forget.
god. I mean, I can be expected not to remember names, but you
Yeah.
guys, come on.
I can't remember.
My god, we read that fast. But you know what's funny is obviously I got the Kindle version and I had Alexa read it to me, and Alexa sucks at Lopen's accent.
Yeah. Yeah. She needs to be trained more in the dialects of the
Sanderson.
Cosmere.
Yeah. But either way, I think the point is, whether we'll look this up or not, she's clearly by this point captaining her own ship and highly mature. I think highly mature, capable, very very capable in my opinion.
Yeah.
And she actually talks a lot about how she's so annoyed with not being able to move on her own.
Yeah.
So she has a servant and she has benches that are placed all over her ship at first. Mm-hmm. Oh, we got something else awesome. We found out that at least 3 members of Shallan's original boat
made it off.
lived.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and we had Yalb made
Yalb.
it, and Yalb was awesome. I don't think the captain did because he got a photo from Shallan, and you know what I think about that.
Oh, if you get a photo, you're dead. But doesn't Yalb?
Yeah.
Yalb did too.
Y'all did
We
too.
proved
Yeah.
that
Did
it's
he?
Pretty sure.
incorrect.
Did he?
Yeah.
All right, if Yalb,
I mean,
if
we're
Yalb
all
got-
alive until we're
Yeah.
not.
if Yalb got a photo and he lived, though, I'm really happy because one of the fans commented on one of our recent posts that she thought that Shallan gave Adolin a picture.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she did.
I don't remember that happening, but if so, and if Yalb got a photo, then I feel more comfortable because I really don't want Adolin to die
I don't
Yeah.
at
remember
all.
giving him one. I remember a drawing of Adolin.
I know she
Not-
drew him.
I
Yeah.
don't think she gave it to him.
You don't think she gave it to him?
But I could
yeah,
be
I don't
wrong.
remember. Well, let's just hope that Adolin's okay.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that's interesting though, so we know Yalb does live, but he's kind of got a bit of a thing, like a cloud hanging over him because he was like the stories kind of spread that like literally the ship just like disappeared.
Yeah.
And then
yeah,
while
ghost
he's
ship.
like writing out, they kind of all think that he has some weird like
Unluckiness or
yeah,
something?
either unluckiness or there's something odd about him, and they end up coming across a ship that literally has no one on it, and he has a very kind of cool saying where he's like, "This, of course, would happen to me. A ship that disappears is now, or the person left alive from a ship that disappeared is now getting put on a ship that had all of its people disappear."
well, the crazy thing is that's a really cool scene, and actually we should draw a highlight here because this is another great Sanderson moment. Because Yalb, we get this little chapter, we know Yalb's alive, and then that ghost ship comes along while he's working on this other ship, and of course they're looking for ships, taking ships because they're trying to commission ships, and not only just commission but also take ships to rebuild the Thaylen Navy
For the war.
because obviously a lot of the Parshmen stole the Thaylen fleet, and then we had the battle at the end of Oathbringer, which resulted thankfully in mostly our posse of Radiance fighting, but there was a lot of soldiers and navy. The Thaylen Navy was gone. It was part of the Parchman Navy.
Yeah.
And so instead it was the I forget the name now that Lift's buddy is the head of the Prime. He's the
Oh,
Prime.
yeah.
It starts with an A. I can't remember the name now, but
Azish?
anyway, yeah, something like that. But they provided the Navy
Hashish?
for that battle. But so they're commissioning and rebuilding boats, and this ghost ship floats in, and that ghost ship happened to be from another interlude. I think it was an Oathbreaker.
Oathbringer.
I mean, Oathbringer. Yeah. Oathbreaker. Wait, those are not the same meaning. By the way. But Azir. That's
Azir,
it. And the cool thing is that I don't know if you remember that interlude in Oathbringer. It was where the one of the royal cousins who has a fabrial that turns things into smoke, and her like cheeks
Yep.
kind of,
Yeah, I remember
and they
that.
went to the very island that this so Can you even call this a novella? It was like the size of Mistborn 1.
Yeah.
That this book that's a novella for Sanderson.
Yeah. So, but this novella that they go to, obviously, it's a major part of this, and we are always wondering, like, what is this island?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the interludes there. So you see that long play, the long game there. We get an interlude. We've got a novella. It's clearly we have the idea that fabulols come from this place.
Right.
We know that the lady, I forget her name, but she had been using the fabulols so much that her body was starting to gradually turn into smoke.
Yeah.
So she had like holes in her cheek and stuff, and she couldn't taste anymore, I remember. And she was actually on this journey, not only to be on this journey, but also because she was hoping to maybe find a solution or a cure to what was happening to her, because she knew it wasn't going to be long.
Because that island was the home of the Soulcasters.
The Soulcaster's not Fabriels. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I was saying Fabriel, but I meant Soulcaster. I'm so sorry.
Well, people used to go to that island and used to petition to get one from the people there. And she was hoping they had secrets or documents you could find and figure
Information
out
about it.
how to cure herself or stop the degrade.
Right. So the admin was kind of cool. So we saw that ship come back. Obviously, everybody was poisoned on that ship. We know this island's being protected. And that also gives us our first indicator that maybe our great new merchant is going to have to make a trip to this island.
I like make a travel. I think we're gonna go with make a travel.
We like to make a travel there.
Yeah, so we get and by the way, the little guy's name is Cheery.
Cheery.
Yeah,
Nice.
of course. Of course.
So she's getting kind of thrown in, not really thrown into this, but she gets some information that her little baby Cheery is not doing so hot.
Yes.
So she's like
Losing color in the shelling,
and
right?
it's not he hasn't been growing, and he's not as like attentive as he used to be, and so she's like, I gotta figure something out, and she talks to one of the guys from the what was it called, the island? I forget what they were called.
Well, there's there's like the major island, the main island, but the secret island is like an offshoot of that one island.
Oh, no. Josh was talking about, I think, the island where she got him from.
Yeah, the giant islands with
the moving island.
The moving
which
islands.
Clearly, it's like that type of creature.
Yeah,
or crustacean.
it's kind of something to do with that.
Yeah.
But she finds one of the son of the king from that place, and he
Yes.
says that he was on his way to actually Urathiru, and kind of meets up with her and is like, oh, you need to take him if he's getting sick. There's like only one place that could help him. It's this island that we're kind of getting slowly introduced to, and she then decides to go on the journey.
Yeah.
And
Now,
who
did
ended
we-
up telling her that she needs to go there?
This is actually important, I think. It was the actual king.
No, it's the son of the
The
king.
son. Because the king is the wife. Not wife, but the
woman.
woman.
So I actually read something interesting online about this. I think it was actually the king. I'm not sure if I want to say that yet, though.
Well, the king,
What we just did, didn't we?
But I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
But I thought it had something to do with... I'm just going to hold on this one until...
I don't know.
I need some confirmation, and I think Rhythm of War is going to provide us this confirmation.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hold
I
on
know what you're
this.
talking about, but I don't.
Do you know?
I think
Did
you're-
you?
yeah.
Did you...
I caught that, but it's not what you. I don't
So-
think it's what you think it is.
I heard an interview with Sanderson that made me think something otherwise, but I'm going to wait.
Are there
because
spoilers to discuss it further?
I don't know because
potentially?
not yet. I think it will come up in Rhythm of War, so I think we'll hold.
We'll discuss a little
on
in the next
Son of the
episode.
King, the
Okay.
King,
Cool.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should maybe revisit that because I did read something. I don't know. You know, this was. I think this book was out a day.
Yeah.
When I read this, so I then again. You know, people read this shit really quick, and before you
know.
know it's online. So I don't know. We'll have to rediscuss this. Let's get a little further in Rhythm of War, and we'll bring it back up.
Okay.
But the son of the king, she went back to the island and talked to.
Well, no, she met him out on somewhere else.
Somewhere
he
else.
happened to be on his way to Urathiru, which does come up in Rhythm of War. But he's on his way there and was
Did
like,
I
was
forget
actually
then?
in that
Were
place.
they? Maybe I forgot that he was in part one.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, then I am gonna bring it up, but I'll bring it up in that book.
Yep.
Okay.
So, but he says like pretty much there's only one place. It's this island that's surrounded by storms all year.
Yeah.
That's like his only hope. Chiri's only hope.
Yeah. And by the way, we find out because essentially it's not just that she finds that out. She's commissioned by Nirvani.
Yeah.
To make a trip there because they're worried about this because I think their Windrunner scouts are having issues.
Yeah.
They lose all of their stormlight when they get close to the area, and there is a platform there, an oath gate, and so they're worried that this could be a staging ground or there could be stuff going on there with the Parshmen, and they could leave them open to attack. So they're like, we need to not only, they don't want to take it over and like hold it as a strong point because it's so far out there and it'd be hard. They're like, we just need to make sure we're not at risk of getting backstabbed because of this. So she kept sending Windrunners, but they kept getting all their stormlight drained and dropped into the ocean in the middle of a storm. And like nearly, I think someone almost died or we had to get like fished out of the water from that, or maybe Sigil or one of the crew.
One of the crew?
Yep.
Okay. Well, the only good thing is if a storm was going on, hopefully they were able to like swim out or like get away or something like that.
I believe they lived. But,
Yeah, they did live, but they were like, we can't risk going in there because if we lose our stormlight, we can't fly.
Which actually makes sense because, of course, we're going to send some Windrunners, but we'll send them on a bloody boat.
Yes.
And so I think Nirvani commissions her in, I forget exactly how, but she commissions her in and essentially makes the pitch.
Yeah, there was a offer Nirvani had for anyone to go to this island, but it's considered cursed, so like no one wants to go there.
That's right. She took it because she had an interest for Chiri.
Yeah.
And it coincides because she's also having trouble getting the respect of her crew.
Yeah.
They're kind of like feeling it out, and she's like typically the Babsk or her Babsk would always go on the trips, but they don't always. The owner of the ship doesn't always go, and there's a very unique relationship where they start to talk about with Alephi ship owning. Like you can own a ship, but on the ship it's the actual captain that runs everything.
Yeah.
They kind of have to defer to you in little things, but they're the ship. Like
You
everyone
basically
reports
say
to them.
where it goes. You get to say where it goes and have a say in almost nothing else.
The captain
Yeah.
is and therefore she's trying to kind of gain that respect. And of course she's, feels like she's having trouble because she can't use her legs.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, not the only reason, but definitely that's playing a part.
Getting a commission from Nirvani, who's like one of the highest queens, like queen over queens in the entire land.
Yeah.
And this is going to be something that's going to pay well. So they're like...
Dalinar wouldn't like it that you said queen over queens, though.
Yeah, that's true. No, they're part of the coalition. Is she considered, she's like the queen of Urithiru, but nothing else. Yeah. So
she's the queen of urethra.
Yeah.
So I can't believe that I still struggle to say that thinking Urithiru.
Is it? How do they pronounce it in the book?
Urithiru.
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 Yeah. I always I just reading it. I said Urithiru.
That's pretty.
You
good.
put a little Japanese twang on it.
Urithiru.
That would help me. But anyway, she
I think
is
it's
the queen
Urithiru.
because Dalinar technically is the king of that place, but nothing else. So, and at the end of Oathbringer, obviously we know, spoilers be warned, if you are watching this and you haven't read those previous three books.
You need to read
better
Oathbringer.
This is
I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, you better have read those series. But anyway, Yasna is obviously now the queen of the Alethi.
Yep.
So, so she takes a job, but she also gets something pretty cool because Nirvani, the Fabrial making queen, has found a way, which this actually did help me. Reading this before getting into this helped me, bridge a little bit of the jump in technology, which we'll obviously talk about later. But she is giving her an experimental floating wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they made it on the
platform?
ship.
Yeah, they talked about what they had used during the first Way of Kings, the platform to raise up so they could survey everything, and they've been slowly utilizing that in different ways.
But now it can go up and down the ship. No?
Not yet.
I thought so.
No.
All that happens on the ship.
So the initial thing is we can give you something that will let you float around, and they're like, we could set people around to move the crystals in opposite directions. So if she wants to go to the front side, someone moves the crystal to the back side. If she wants to go up,
that's right.
they raise it up and down, and so they would be able to do that. And she was like at first super excited about it, and
it was very limited, right?
It was very it was, when she kind of like they were talking about it, she's like, this is cool. I'm like floating here, but it's not as great.
Couldn't move really.
Yeah.
On her own power.
Oh, actually, she was able to.
I thought she went up and down because I remember she went
does
from her
later.
room. Really?
Remember when Lopen's cousin?
Why the Herdesians are clearly like the best secret. Like they just do everything.
Yeah,
they can do everything.
we can jump ahead to that right now since it doesn't matter that much. But so they have the Ardents on board, and she's supposed to be just showing the ability of levitating, like bringing it up and down.
Yeah.
But what happens is the Herdesian likes to tinker with stuff, and he took apart one of the span reeds. And when he put it back together, he left a piece of aluminum in it because they were.
The metal.
One of the things that they were also doing was they were using the aluminum because they found out aluminum could shield the span reed. So you could essentially put like a span reed in a box of aluminum, and it wouldn't be able to write with the other end. So they were experimenting on that over long distances. Also, a big thing is perception, because they were experimenting on perception. Like if you're on a ship that's moving back and forth, whereas someone's on a ship on a flat ground, does the span reed work? And it wasn't working because the person is moving.
Yep.
So it was leaving all this stuff. So the Ardents were investigating that, and the Herdesian, and I forgot his name. It's
Lopen's cousin.
But
It's like Hugh.
yeah, it is. It starts with an H or something.
H-O.
But he ends up taking apart one of the span reeds, and accidentally, when he puts it back together, leaves a bit of aluminum in there. And then what he found out is that the span reed would move side to side, but wouldn't go up and down.
Yeah.
So that's when the Ardents was like, oh, that's something crazy.
That's right.
And because he had to admit that he broke it. And when they found that out, they're like, maybe we can do something. So they equip her chair with the same stuff that lets her float, so they could move it up and down, but she could move all around without the crystal moving with it.
So just out of curiosity, touching on that, do you guys feel like, we won't get too deep into this because I don't want to get Mistborn spoilers, but do you feel like there's crossing over of magic systems?
I'm really
Yeah.
happy that you mentioned that, because I was just about to bring that up, because we find out that as in the Cosmere, for some reason, metals play a part. Aluminum was one of them, and I think I read somewhere that aluminum, they use that metal with a Fabrial to make those like cool shields that they had in the second book.
Oh yeah,
Words of Radiance.
Yeah,
where they're like not shard plate invincible, but they can
strong,
take a blow to a shard blade without.
And it's also
and I think maybe the bow. I can't remember exactly, but I remember like metal. It seems that we're learning that metal may play a role in Roshar as well.
What does aluminum do in Mistborn? Do we remember?
I don't think it's one of the metals.
I thought it was. Because
Is aluminum one of
pewter it was like pewter, tin, there's steel. Yeah, maybe it wasn't one.
Well, I don't think it's one of the ones that we knew of.
Yeah, but it could be.
It's one of the
Oh,
last
there's
ones.
aluminium, which is like aluminum.
Remember at
is
the
it
end
the
of-
same or not?
Wait, I don't know what to say at the end.
Depends
of,
what country you're in.
Anyway, the point is, through Mistborn, I don't think we know all the metals. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. And
we're
aluminum may be one of those. I guess we'll find out as a crew when we read into later Mistborn eras, which we're not there yet. But it would be cool if it was, because if it does show up, then we're getting some more of this Cosmere meat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I know there's other metals that affect them in different ways too.
Yes, exactly.
They were saying like copper and some of the other ones,
Yep.
the wires that they would use around the Fabrials would do different things, and that's actually explained in more than
Rhythm, yeah. Well, it's not really. That's not really a spoiler, but it's
Yeah,
just
it's
like,
not a spoiler.
It's like the clips in the beginning of each chapter. You know?
Right.
It's this one. We're lucky to have notes from Nirvani, which just helps us because Brandon Sanderson doesn't put it in there if it's not going to come back.
Yeah.
So
That's actually one of the things when I first started reading this book, Dawnshard, one of the things I really liked was just this idea of, oh, this interlude character now has her own book, basically, and it is a book.
yeah, it's like 300.
Yeah.
not a novella.
Yeah. It's
It's a
novella.
book in the same sense that part 1 is nearly a book.
Yeah, exactly.
More.
I have definitely audiobook 10 10, 11 hours worth of content in a normal book size.
Yeah. But so I think though this book, the definitely Dawnshard, has some very lasting effects when we start to realize the implications that floating chair can start to do. And if you start to think about like what else could they do, they're starting to learn things.
It's the beginning of this whole technological leap.
Advancement.
And I'm glad you explained that to me, because I don't know if I just like passed out for a few minutes when I was reading that, but I don't remember the Herdazian cousin like take that thing apart. I just remember her using the chair and being like, oh, it could do this.
I also like when we started getting like hints into like how they're kind of exploring this technology more and more, it also kind of made me wonder, because I think somebody did mention during our discussions at one point that there is going to be a Cosmere sci-fi element at some point.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder if we're going to see this type of tech alongside our world's type of tech, or if this is going to be the tech that fuels the sci-fi and the Cosmere. Yeah. So I'm kind of interested to see how that develops as well.
It'll be a Stormlight punk.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool because it actually makes me realize why Sanderson decided to pull the Skyward novels out of the Cosmere, because I think Sanderson originally wanted the Skyward novels to be part of the Cosmere.
Yeah.
But there was like he said there was a specific loophole that he just couldn't
get around,
and it was clearly a big piece of whatever the Cosmere is going to do when they're in space.
Yeah. Maybe this is his way around it, creating technology through different means other than what we think technology is.
As far as his website says, he pulled it from Cosmere. Yeah. Skyward will never be part of Cosmere now because he just decided, I'm not getting around this, but maybe that is exactly the reason.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's what you were saying.
Right.
And I'm just stupid.
No. It's okay.
No, but I'm just joking. But cool thing is, either way, we end up going to this island again. And our trusted betrayer, the most evilest of all, the most evilest of all characters ever, Lopen. Was clearly waiting to backstab.
If there's one thing we can always count on Lopen to do, it's to betray us. Always.
So, inside joke, folks. If you haven't seen the original,
we had a Brett bet where the captain was like, I think Lopen's gonna betray Bridge 4. And we're all like, what?
Yeah. He is too kind. Actually, that might have something to do with his particular oaths.
He's not too kind. Yeah. He's not kind.
Oh, he's too mean.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I mean, when I think about a one-armed Herdazian saying that stuff to me, I'd have to take it with good chops.
You better take it with good chops,
But maybe growing up with him was a little bit more of a pain.
Yeah.
As we find out. But he's on the trip with his cousin. And so there are de facto windrunners. And also, believe it or not, there's another on this trip, and it happens to be Rock's daughter, Court.
Yes.
Gets brought as the cook.
But remember, the cook was the one who poisoned everybody last time.
Yeah. Well, the cook left because he didn't want to go, and so she took over.
Yeah.
But she went because she could see Spren.
That was a secret mission.
Yeah.
So the Radiance and the Ardent had like a secret mission. Not only were they going to help kind of this initial mission, but they were going to investigate the Oath Gate, which most people didn't know were there, right? Yeah. That was the secret part of the mission.
I think they found out, but they didn't find out about Court until later.
Yeah. And the reason she was going is because they knew that something was draining the Stormlight, and so Court being able to see Spren similar to her father went specifically for that purpose.
I can't imagine how that argument would have gone between Court and Rock, where Court decides to go and Rock kind of gives in on that.
What about later when Court decides to reveal to him that her and Lopen are going to get married?
By the way, so Court, question, age. I didn't get a vibe on the age.
Yeah, me neither.
Late teens, I thought.
Early 20s.
When Rock's family first came, I was like, she's young. But he has so many kids, you forget that he's got kind of a line. And Court, I think, is the oldest.
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah.
I think so. And I was like, reading this book, I was kind of like, oh, Court's not young. And he actually has some elder kids, several elder kids, as I think we discovered later in Rhythm of War, but I'm not even 100% positive on that.
Yeah.
There was a scene that I implied to me that there was a few that were...
Well, we'll talk about that.
But anyway, Court's on the trip, and she's a cook, and naturally poisons everybody on the trip to keep them off the island. Gets framed for some poisoning stuff.
Yeah, there is one person on the trip that we haven't mentioned is
Nico?
what's her name? Rysn.
Rysn.
Rysn is the captain.
She hires
She's the owner, not the captain.
Yeah, she's the owner. The captain is somebody else.
But she hires a kind of like a manservant is what he's supposed to be one of those guys with the super light skin or white skin that gets the tattoos all over their bodies.
This is what he's masquerading as.
Yeah, and he's on there, and he seems to be like, actually from the beginning you're like, oh, I like this guy because he's very like,
wasn't his name like Nico or some stuff like that?
I think it might have been
I keep saying Nico because it just fits my brain, but but I was gonna say though, does this also like kind of trick us off based on that chapter? Because wasn't the cook that poisoned everybody in the chapter tattooed and stuff?
I can't remember.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, that's so long ago.
And also
it's
remember
Nickley.
Yeah, Nico, Nickley.
You were
same
close.
difference.
Yeah, same thing. Basically the same
Not
thing.
the same thing, but Nickley. But the thing is,
It's closer than Urithiru and Urethra, so we're heading in the right direction.
Better.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I do my best, guys. but the other thing I was gonna say is, do you guys remember?
Siri had to butt in with her.
Yeah.
Later.
Do you guys remember what in Edge Dancer, Lift also meets one of these type of people?
Yes.
These Crumbling type people, and I cannot remember that character's name.
I don't either, but he was in the city that with like all the people that were like.
Do you remember why he was keeping an eye on something specific? I think we even said it in this book in a conversation that Nickley had with Rysn at some point. I think they were mentioned, like one of them was in this city to observe something specific because they were watching for somebody that they thought would be a threat. And I can't remember exactly how that conversation went.
Yeah, was it Wit or Hoyt?
Wasn't no, because he wasn't there at this time. But Lift was there, and they were keeping an eye on somebody specific. I can't remember who it is.
Just the stump.
Maybe they were keeping an eye on the stump, but the stump was the reason that obviously Nolan. That's it. I'm so good at names.
Yeah, that's it.
Nail came, and that book obviously got Nail to realize what was going on. He was in,
Yeah. I don't remember any of this.
Yeah.
I gotta reread Edge Dancer.
Yeah. Well, similar to this, it has these little like you don't need it, but it's like these.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Important moments.
I'm really glad that I read at
Dawnshard.
Dawnshard. Yeah. It had a lot of cool stuff in it.
So, but either way, I think he mentions that character. So we've met a few of them. And I remember being very intrigued. I didn't catch it the first time I read Oathbringer, that they were different. I get that they were, protectors, but I didn't get that they were...
Or how different they were.
But then Edge Dancer, I was kind of like, what is these creatures? Like, what is this?
They call themselves the Horde.
The Horde.
And they're not even from this planet.
Yeah, they're not.
Which is crazy.
They're world hoppers of some sort.
And they're like undying, right? They're like extremely old or something?
They're very old, but they're not as old as the original protectors of this particular thing, which they said that they took over from a large breed of creature that used to protect the island.
The Siri.
Yeah.
But that's weird, though, because they...
Not Siri, you're thinking about your watch. It's Chiri.
Chiri.
But they were hunted to extinction by people.
Yeah.
For the jump outs or whatnot.
But that means there's some kind of sentience to them, which would be really interesting to find out. And obviously, Chiri.
We find a little bit of that.
Get a little bit
but
of
I
that
also
idea.
find that odd that they're saying that they were the original protectors, but they don't seem like they were world hoppers. Wouldn't you think that the world hoppers would have been around longer than the native
I guess
protectors.
not. We don't know how old Roshar is.
And we don't know how long that Dawnshard has been there. Too.
Well, we could assume that it had to be at least at some point after the original breaking of the whatever the almighty thing was that the shards came from.
Yeah. But was that how? But when we think about that, that had to have been like millennia ago, like way longer than the breaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why I'm starting to think that Roshar might be a core planet, like a planet that's been around much longer. Than...
Next book.
Did I forget something?
No. Well, probably.
Oh, we can talk
about it. We talk about next book.
Probably, but you forgot it in the next episode.
Yeah.
Okay, next episode.
So regardless, though, we do we get really introduced to these guys, and I think they're cool. That they're very interesting. You don't get a ton of information about them, but they call themselves they're like the Horde, which
we call them Kremlings.
Well, they make themselves up of Crumbling.
Yeah.
But they were, I forget what they were called. They have a few names.
Do we know if they actually? I mean, because
are they the pieces or the whole?
Yeah,
they're a horde.
So essentially, what it is all of them, every single little individual part of them has a designated task of carrying certain information.
Right.
So they are a collection of all of that into one being. Just like they're like no different from you guys. Your guys' cells.
Yeah.
Yeah. As each one of your cells are specialized, not any one of them is you.
Except they're each conscious and communicate with each other.
Exactly. They can separate these here.
They're like a version of us almost, but instead of each cell, they have a whole Crumbling, which might be composed of cells. So they're like a level up, I guess.
Yeah. But it's really interesting because they talk about how they've bred, or they also, it's weird because they consider the Kremlings themselves, but they also breed those Kremlings with local things to get things that are probably can be hidden on the planet, aren't that suspicious.
Which is actually probably why they got the crustacean type thing, because Roshar with the storms and the evolution, everything on Roshar is about this kind of shelly protection for storms.
But they also bred part of themselves. I'm wondering how this all happened. Like when they came, were they something totally different and then slowly bred their way into the Kremlings, but they also then bred themselves into these
Kremlings that could look like humans or other things.
They bred themselves into Kremlings that could steal Stormlight. So there's a specific type of Kremling,
like Chiri,
but they're like smaller little flying ones that they bred themselves into that they could take Stormlight. So that was one of the things that they could use.
I feel like.
Go
ahead.
I thought that they bred creatures like Chiri into those swarm that sucked out the Stormlight. That they were not part of them though. Those the pets.
Were they? I thought they said they had. Oh, maybe they were just their pets. I thought they were part of their horde too, but maybe not.
All I remember
is they could do it themselves.
Yeah.
All I remember is those Chiri type that could breathe in the Stormlight. They were the original protectors. That's all that they said.
But those ones grew really big. So Chiri could grow into really big, which is a really big protector. But there were little guys. Yeah. There were little guys that would fly around that could also...
Well, they grow bigger as they bond, as we find out. Luxpren.
No, was it?
It was Luxpren.
Luxpren
is what
do they grow bigger because they bond Luxpren, or because the bigger they have to bond Luxpren to survive?
It is the Luxpren. By the way, so this was a cool thing that I read specifically about Dawnshard. Nothing else. There was no rhythm of war, even in this at all. But it's really cool because I don't know if you guys remember, but Luxpren are in Shadesmar, in Oathbringer. They are the Spren that carry the floating boats. They float. So they bond Luxpren, I think, to counteract their weight.
Yeah, that's said in the book in Dawnshard, where they're like, the Luxpren must be doing something to keep them from falling in on themselves or crushing themselves with their own weight.
Now, gravity
lets them fly.
Sanderson does say that the gravity on Roshar is 0.7 to 1 standard G of whatever the main world was. I think Hoyd's was the original world. I'm not exact. I can't remember. But point is, I could assume that one's probably modeled after like our gravity. So when you say 0.7 of our gravity, it's lighter. If you got lighter gravity, you might get bigger things. That's a reality. So there's
Also makes it a little bit easier for Hoyd to sneak away
because
he's very nimble on this world.
But anyway, point being that potentially Luxbren are helping them get even bigger.
Yeah.
And bigger and bigger
That seems
for
to
what
be
they
the
are.
case.
And
Because they say there's some other creatures that also have them hovering around them, like they bond together.
Yeah. It seems like it's really interesting to learn more about this bonding, because we know about the Heistbren, and when you bond, you get lashings, you get these powers. But these Heistbren, not the Heistbren that make sky breakers, but these intelligent Spren, they seem to have kind of partners with a lower level Spren, which we talked about potentially being the shard plate in the previous one. We don't know that for fact yet, but it is cool to kind of see that even lower Spren or semi-sentient Spren can create these bonds, and they have this like a deep relationship with Roshar and the culture. It seems so old. They've evolved to literally be bonding. So this bond thing has been going on much longer than just our Radiance. You know, it's like a natural piece of this world, which is kind of cool.
It is really interesting, and you guys probably have a better understanding of it because you remember more of the details of all the previous books. But like, I'm always kind of thinking about like the Spren and their relationship with like the material realm or whatever, and it's just really strange that like, you know, Parshmen were kind of like the original beings of this land, and then obviously Shadesmar is connected to this world. But at the same time, they're kind of like bonding with the humans that originally came in and kind of started the chaos. And it's just like the way it all interacts with each other is like really interesting. And I'm still, I don't know if I'm still like really confused about how it all interplays.
Well, that's a great thing we don't know. So
Layers
we
on
know
layers.
Layers on layers.
Yeah, we know at the end of Oathbreaker that obviously the humans were the Voidbringers. They came in, they brought in Odium. Oathbreaker. At the end of breaking of all those, killing all Spren, we kill Spren with arrows. I don't know why I said that, and now it'll stay forever. So if there is ever a blade now that's going to be called Oathbreaker, well then, got it. It's probably going to be.
That's going to be the nickname for Night Mist or whatever.
Jesus, I don't know.
Black blade is.
But the cool thing is we don't know the situation that caused. So humans came in, war ensued. Yet somehow during this chaos of war, they flipped.
They flipped. The gods it's really flipped. Weird, yeah.
The good guys who were defending their land and allied with honor became open to odium. And the opposite happened. And then now the old Voidbringers are called Sons of Honor. It's even crazier.
Yeah.
They call humans Sons of Honor, even though they adopted that god later. So we don't know what happened there. I suspect we'll find out, but
eventually in book 10.
So back to the island. You get on the island, loads and loads and loads of money everywhere.
Gem hearts,
just grab them.
It
really bothered Rysn.
There's nothing to see here. This is the treasure.
I really liked how she was leading, by the way. I really enjoyed that. I find her to be a very capable leader. I hope that they make her maybe an admiral later.
Or more of a part.
Because she has them drawing. She has one of the artists drawing what she's seeing on the beach. And through the span read, she's looking at it, and she's like, no, something's wrong here. I really appreciated her ability to analyze the situation and then look back on the lessons that she learned as a merchant and say, this is a distraction. This is a trap. Something is not right here. And she was able to apply those learnings from her Babsk to
Babsk.
From Babsks. And kind of make a decision and a call, which came at the nick of time, kind of, I guess. She kind of let them know. I appreciated the good communication too. I'm always looking in books where like a character will do something and it's like, why are you doing that? Just to like, you know, the story, to keep the story going along. And yet in Brandon Sanderson's, often his characters are doing very capable things.
Yeah.
Exactly. And yet the story continues on the right way. And I'm like...
Although there are definitely moments with Kaladin where I'm just like, why are you doing that? Or thinking that, rather.
Yeah.
I guess he usually ends up kind of like behaving correctly, but like his thought process, I'm just like,
Well, we get to talk a lot about Kaladin in the next one.
Yeah.
Which...
So,
wow.
But we get to talk a lot about in this one is Lopen.
Yes.
Lopen.
The Lopen. Why don't people just call me the Lopen?
I did truly and purely love the fact that, well, obviously there's monsters and they're coming out and they're collecting this fake money. They find out that's not the case. Rysn guides them right. They start to find the right locations to find things. And remember, this is kind of cool. So Nico... Nickley. I liked what Rysn did, right? So they realized that Nickley framed Court, the cook, which makes sense.
That was so gratifying. She didn't blame the cook.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like we knew it as readers, but so many times I see that, and then they'll still blame the cook, and then kill her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was like, use the reason, like Jeff was saying.
Yeah, and it was so good. And they capture Nickley. And I really like Rysn's trying to think, like, what am I supposed to do with this? I could do this, I could do that. What am I going to do? And she makes the choice to fly him to the main island, just off the boat. Totally. Because she realized that her interrogation is not going anywhere, and she's not willing to torture Nickley.
Yeah.
She kind of like goes through that thought protocol. So she realizes like the best thing to do is just
tie him up for now, not have him come with me the rest of the trip.
Keep him off the island. And, well, we find out that's not exactly going to work.
As easy as you would think.
As we would have thought. But I liked that whole thought protocol. And so Court and her have a good conversation, something we find out a little bit more about the Horn Eaters. In that conversation, we find out that the reason the Horn Eaters desperately want shards is because they know there is a portal to Shadesmar in their mountain. They know it. And they know that soon everybody is going to want this portal to Shadesmar.
Yeah. Isn't that one of the reasons told that what's his face? Rock got captured because his not Brightlord, whatever, his leader was going down to try and challenge Elfkar for
anyone in
Alephi for a shard plate so they could win one to bring it back. Yeah. And then obviously his whatever leader failed and Rock got captured. And that's how he ends up in the bridge crew.
He was part of the bet. All the people they brought down were bet against the shard plate.
Oh yeah, as slaves.
Yeah, as slaves.
Yeah.
And then the reason that Rock became a bridgeman, remember, is because he put
he was
in Sanderson's food.
You're right. So he was just a slave, and then he become a bridgeman because of the poop.
Yeah. Worth it.
Nailed it.
Well, that is yet to be seen, but I hope so. And it seems like it so far.
But yeah, so Court has a secret mission. So it's funny because there's like secret mission on secret mission on secret mission. I know. In the story because the main ship is going to just scout the area, but then the everyone from Nirvani's side, the Windrunners and everyone have a secret mission to search for the Oath Gate, and then Court has her own secret mission because she's trying to get shard blades,
shards or even she said that they would take, and actually. Even Rysn has her own motivation is because Phelina doesn't have that many soulcasters, and they know soulcasters came from there. So there's also like this undertone of like maybe we could grab some soulcasters
for our.
So there's a lot of
for the
covert missions going on here.
Yeah, and so everyone's kind of got like little bits of secrets and stuff that they're gonna go. So that's a really cool thing. And Court ends up being a boss and saving. Rysn off of the ship when
Nico comes back.
Nico and his buddies.
Yeah.
Good old
hey, Nico, why is he there?
Nickley and Nico, they come back, anyway, the Crumbling come back, Nickley comes back, shows up on the ship, and Rysn and Court have to jump off this ship. And Luxbren guide them
further and further down into the ground where they find the
Meanwhile, some of the monsters are attacking our posse on the team on the who have they're actually
shore.
right now they were on the shore. They realize it was probably a trap and they start to go below. They're thinking maybe the theory is that there's like a new building on top.
Yeah.
And they want to go deep because they think it was built on top of the old ruins.
Right.
So they're going low. They brought they had to bring a soulcaster, but it was either a shardblade or a soulcaster to get in there. But they end up getting in there. But I can't remember exactly how it happens, but either way, there's a monster that attacks him and Lopen.
no, that's back. So they
That's
get
a little bit later. They find the underground passage.
Okay, they find it
And
first.
then they realize, like, this is hidden on purpose, and going down here, they're gonna get attacked. So
we've given up our position that
Yeah.
we've found. Like now that we've actually found what was supposedly hidden, because they're like everything above is just a stage
Yeah,
to
it was
get
all
people to
staged.
think that they found what they needed, and they were
was
supposed to
destroyed.
think they found the Oath Gate that was no longer functioning and destroyed. But they were like, it was funny because they started thinking about it. They're like, all the other Oath Gates have been literally in the same conditions for the same amount of time.
Especially-
None of them were broken.
Especially
Yeah.
the one in
the Shattered Plains.
Yeah.
This is in like much worse place. So they were like, this isn't right. So it was literally all a fake Oath Gate built on top of the real Oath Gate.
yeah, that's
so,
right.
Yeah, I think they started heading back. Lopen and his brother started heading back to the ship.
Yep, and so it was on the beach that they finally get attacked by like a giant crumbling worm, kind of. Like the way it sounded to me, like I pictured it as a giant centipede kind of that had like
that's kind of
armor,
what I was thinking
carapace
too.
all over it, and that scene's great, especially the end of it. I think
Running
is
out
awesome.
of Stormlight, and Lopen gets beat to the third ideal
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
by his cousin.
But yeah, the third idea for the windrunners, though, is I'll protect those, even those I hate.
And
In some form or fashion.
Yeah.
so it's really amazing. That part was
He's
so
protecting
good.
Lopen.
Yeah,
that
Lopen's-
conversation was awesome later.
They seem like, good buddies. And
Yeah.
like, Lopen liked him.
And Lopen even sees, he's like sitting there and he's like injured arm. He's like, well, this is going to be the end for me. And then all of a sudden his cousin comes up and just like, boom, materializes a giant warhammer, which is so freaking awesome. I just imagine this like huge, instead of shard, like everyone has like shard blades, but this guy's got like a giant shard hammer and just starts wailing on it. It's awesome.
It's pretty cool though because you get to see the way that oath works for different people. We saw Kaladins, we saw Tefs in Oathbringer, and we Tefs was geared around hating himself, and then we saw Lopen's cousin. I don't know. I'll protect those, even those assholes that I'm protecting.
And that definitely doesn't, which is awesome that it doesn't kind of get by Lopen, who's like, wait, why is he reaching the ideal now protecting me? Like, what the heck does that mean? Like, what the hell?
And,
Nice.
and-
I had that heart-to-heart later. They actually talked about it, and he tells him that Lopen just goes too far and doesn't ever, like, quit. And, like, it's hard
Yeah.
you gotta be around him sometimes.
like he said, his aunt and his mom or grandma and whatever, like he takes it a little too far, and people sometimes get hurt by that.
Yeah, and so his idea was even those that not that I hate, but even those that like pick on me, or even those that
I'll protect those, even those that pick on me, or something like that.
And it relates almost directly to Lopen, and then Lopen has a very good.
But if
scene.
not that conversation, we don't know if Lopen would have made the next ideal.
But also, once again, Lopen gets his glory stolen, and he has his revelation instead of like his cousin out in the middle of battle. It's in the room by himself.
Yeah, when he's like, maybe I'll protect those
Every
from
time,
myself.
Yeah.
Or I'll protect others even from myself.
Yeah.
And then when he gets it, it's so funny because his too is like his what are they called? Spren is like a little weird, like he is. So it's so amazing because he's like, she just suddenly gets stiff and just fell over as like a little dagger, like just like dink and just like falls over, and then he's like holding it and it extends into a sword, and he's like, he looks at the side of it, and then all of a sudden his Spren does the two middle fingers like on the side. He's like, that'd be great
like
for
a
cutting
help,
the enemies.
It's like only Lopen could have that as his like cross guard, his little spren, like
Yeah, flipping off people.
so good.
But that seems amazing because that's hilarious because that also happened in when he did was it his first ideal?
It was an Oathbringer. Yeah, well, it's the second.
Second.
Because
It
the
was the
first
second.
is always the life before death.
Yeah.
But the second is
will protect
protect
those
those
who
that need to be protected
protect
or
themselves.
can't protect themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, that was in the hospital, I think, when he was talking to the
Yeah.
guy who lost his leg. I
Yep.
think.
Yep. He was giving him it was his arm, and he was giving him all the one arm jokes that he used to use. So, but either way, Lopen doesn't get it until after, but his cousin does to save him. But they still run out of Stormlight, and actually they would have still lost if not for Rysn's negotiations.
Yeah.
So
there's one thing I want to kind of add, and this is actually going to segue into something when we talk about the next book. It seems that whenever someone reaches that ideal, they themselves create a burst of Stormlight because Lopen actually takes when they're both nearly out of Stormlight.
He does absorb it,
and
yeah.
he summons the shard blade, and when he does, he releases a burst of light, and Lopen actually takes that to heal himself.
Yeah.
So that's really cool that somehow that like connection is almost doing probably something similar to like what a bondsman
Dalinar,
do,
yeah.
and like bringing out some of that.
it has to be some
power.
kind of a connection to the spiritual realm.
And it's the bond. They're
Yeah.
creating a bond similar, and that's what the bondsmith does. So I
Yeah.
think that was a really cool, like, little additional thing that they
Just
show
a
a
side
little bit
note,
more because
yeah.
we'd seen like the burst of light, but this is the first time I think that we actually get to see the burst of light and then someone drinking that in
Yeah.
and being so that's actually them producing Stormlight,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah, and there's one more thing before the negotiations. When Cord and Rysn were swimming through the water, the Luxpen actually boosted the speed.
Yes.
And we find out that is how Rock drew the bow.
Yes,
way.
yes.
So
We were even talking about that
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the last episode, the recap before we did
Does
Dawnshard.
Sven enhance his strength?
Yeah.
And so they would do that. Apparently, he's been able to do stuff like that since he was a kid. Like all the time.
Yeah. Which is, it must be, I'm wondering if it's something very similar to like the, like a weaker version of a Radiant, because you can, instead of bonding like any Spren, you can kind of will other more common Spren to help you in like
Yeah.
little ways. So that's
Still,
what Cord
something
does
is
too.
with Rock. Like I know. We're gonna have to figure this out because Rock, he's like this anomaly, and
Yeah. Well,
I
I'm
mean, would
wondering,
you expect anything less from the champion of honor?
but I think I'm wondering if we're gonna find out that Cord is gonna be nearly exactly the same, like do all the stuff that Rock can do. So
well, she's also not afraid to
Fight.
Fight. You know, she has. I know she does have by the end of this the armor, right? They
she gets a
find
shard
armor.
plate. Yeah, so that's as she swims
Rock
down.
actually has a blade anyway. He gave one away. He has Emeralds.
But I thought
She even complains about how he
he's-
won't use it.
I think he's taking it back to his people at the moment.
That's what it, yeah. Well, we know that he when he killed Emeran,
He got 2 blades.
he got the armor. Did he get the armor too? He got the armor and he got 2 blades, but he gave Oathbringer back to Dalinar.
Back to Dalinar.
But I think
yeah.
he still has the plate and the blade as a traditional
and
shark killer.
Yeah.
Of Eberron, and so I think that's maybe the plate he's gonna bring back to his people or something like that.
Yeah.
But Cord, of course, is like they need more. She
Yeah.
wants more.
Also, I don't know if it's in this book or with the of War. We found out that Rock lets his children believe in like any religion. It's like 2 of his kids
Yes,
don't.
that
even-
was actually we find that out in. I thought he mentions that in Oathbringer even.
maybe like they'll like Alethi values and like Cord doesn't follow the traditions that bind him with being a 4th child or a 3rd son.
Yeah,
And so he just lets them do like just find yourselves.
and he's very like laissez, like that's their choice. This is my choice.
Yeah.
This doesn't impact them, but I hold by these beliefs.
Rules, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to learn, I think we're going to learn a lot more about this throughout Rhythm of War. I at least hope so.
Yeah.
And obviously, reading through part 1, which we'll talk about next, we learn a little, but not as much as I would like. But either way, this negotiation happens. So Rysn, they escape. They find a painting or tapestry. Is it painting or a tapestry?
Tapestry?
Some
Let's
kind
go
of
with
artwork.
tapestry.
It's like a Dawnshard tapestry.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
get this vibe by it. They get under, the Luxbrand guiding them there. And this whole thing happens where Rysn,
accepts the power.
She gets
absorbs it.
close to it and she's like reading it and she's like, something's happening. And then all of a sudden, like, something happens and she, it's just like the mural goes dark or dim.
Yeah.
Just kind of like dims a little bit. Like
Mural, yeah. Whatever it is, it's like she took it from the actual inanimate painting and it's now in her. And she starts a negotiation with Nico. Nickley, right?
Nickley.
I thought it was very well done, the negotiation. They end up coming to terms. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that's going to play out later because we find out the Dawnshard was a big deal.
very big deal.
I also really like how during that negotiation, she stuck to her guns with no harm can come of my crew.
And sadly, Shardy, I think she lost 3 people already.
Yeah.
It was already
a few had passed.
pretty sad, but she was very stuck to her guns about that.
And there's in the moment you kind of feel like, well, she almost has no room to be making demands, but she did.
Yeah.
And it turned out she did have room to make demands.
Clearly, and she made a good case.
Yeah.
Actually, her case was pretty good thanks to her Babsk.
Babsk.
I was waiting for it. And I don't know. I'm curious to see how this is going to pan out because the Dawnshard is immortal now. There is a command to it.
Yeah, the Dawnshard they described it as it sounds like it's the will of Adonasia?
Well, they actually call it it might be a single command.
Or a command. Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm wondering if the will of whatever the entity is so powerful that a single command has its own Dawnshard. But then also I know that the Dawnshard might be, this is where we don't know, right? It could be a force because I thought that Dawnshards were used to actually initially do some kind of the breaking of that particular god. So, or I don't know if I want to call it a god.
Whatever it was.
What is
Adonasia or whatever?
Adonais-
It was like Adonasium. I forget. It was
Adonasium, something like that. But anyway, point is we're not quite sure what it is, but she keeps saying it's I feel like it's a command or something. However, something does when she takes it in her. She sees colors more vibrantly. Mm-hmm. She senses words.
Sounds almost like music.
Yeah, like music, similar to Magic System and Warbreaker we know about, where you have a certain number of breaths. It's almost like maybe if you have so many breaths, you might have a Dawnshard potentially. Or maybe not. I'm not sure. But was kind of interesting. It
could be what gives the I forgot what it is, but the dude with all the breaths,
the godlike,
kind of abilities that he had.
So it's very curious to see what Rysn has made in her bargain. She will not bond to Spren.
Yeah,
that was part of the bargain.
And
that's the one thing that would heal her.
I said to you early on that I thought maybe she was going to become a Radiant of some sort and get her her legs back. But I guess she could go back on her word somehow, but that seems to not be the case. Probably.
I think the reason they didn't want her to be able to bond to Spren is Spren have power, and one of the things they said is you in your mortal form cannot use power, can't even use or even do anything with the Dawnshard's power. And so if she were to bond to Spren and become more powerful, she might be able to start utilizing that power. So that's probably
it's something
why.
Like Dalinar, which we think him bonding the Stormfather, who has a piece of honor, might be different now. So it might make him, we don't know yet, but maybe by the end, he's going to be something more than a normal bondsmith. Maybe if she bonded to Spren with the Dawnshard in her, it would
become even more powerful.
Yeah, and they
something.
they just can't trust that.
Yeah, I think
She's
that's
gonna have a dragon anyway, though. Yeah. Come on, Churi's gonna turn
gonna
into a
get
dragon.
freaking huge. She's gonna be riding it around like
It
Katie.
flies. It's gonna turn into a dragon.
Yeah.
She's gonna be like a dragon rider.
It's gonna be awesome, and it can suck out Stormlight, so that is gonna be insanely powerful. We gotta find out if it can suck out fused power.
Well,
I
I
can.
actually
we know it
Void
can, because it sucked out Void Light in Oathbringer.
Oh, you're right. It did an Oathbringer.
It took one of the Voidbringer versions of the Lightweavers that could mimic human illusions.
Yeah.
And it sucked it out of it.
So there's also a part of me that feels like there could be a scene way in the future where we have her riding Cherry and like literally able to absorb Stormlight and distribute it to the forces as they're flying up and fighting to like give them more Stormlight. So
that
she
would
might
be like
flying
having
around.
a mobile Dalinar
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Wait, but
where-
can Cherry give up its Stormlight?
We don't know
We
yet.
don't know
Yeah,
yet.
I don't
That's what I'm saying. I think we might find out later that it can not only absorb Stormlight,
pretty
it might
cool.
be able to give it.
Or maybe he's been spending a lot of time around Georgia RR, and she's gonna ride around and kill the Coalition. Just burn all the Radiance. Except instead of burning, just sucking the Stormlight of all of the Radiance.
Well, I know this was a novel, but we do have to get to Rhythm of War,
Yes.
which is coming out right after this. So let's kind of go around and talk about any kind of final tidbits you guys all want. Any like major thoughts?
One thing I think I'm very interested if at some point, this is maybe a bit far reaching, but this could be a Brett bet. At some point, she's going to give up or transfer that power to Dalinar.
Dalinar? He's got a spren though.
I know. Like
He's got a spren, though.
I think the reason they say that is you can't bond a spren, and they're gonna find out at some point, like, oh, but we need this power to be able to overcome Odium, or that we're gonna need this. That's part of my theory. I think the only thing that makes me question that is it's like burying something this important to a novella that's. Can he then turn around and make it a core part of the story?
I think that maybe it won't play.
You don't think it won't play at all?
Dawnshard-
Yeah, maybe that
the
is too
Dawnshard may
far-reaching.
be a bigger Cosmere play.
But not.
And
a-
he bridged the gap by showing how some technology was advanced, how there's going to be certain developments in crustaceans and the absorbing Stormlight ability, but maybe that was a bigger play. I don't know what I think about this, but maybe that was a bigger play for the Cosmere.
Maybe I think you're right. I don't think he would have put this in the novella if it was going to be that big of a part of the.
Well, you could
final.
also revisit it as an idea later as it becomes more important. And then people that are like, wait, when did this happen? Just be like, read the novella, idiot.
Yeah, but I don't think he could put it in as a core. Well, I guess unless he reiterates everything. But we'll see. Maybe let's not make that a Brett bet because I probably lose now that I'm thinking about it being in a novella.
I only make Brett bets that I think I'm probably
We
going
love Hail Marys.
I love them.
All right.
I think
I think we
besides
covered it
Got it?
for me, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to mention the point. We don't have to like discuss it, but just as I thought it the one part where they came up across like the big dead like turtle or whatever, and then they're like bringing it in, and it just like dissolves into all the little
Kremlings.
Kremling. I thought that was a really cool moment that we didn't get to touch on. So just wanted to mention it.
That was all
Little
part of the
honorable
sabotage.
mention. Yeah.
Sabotage of the trying to sabotage
Yeah.
the crew to not keep going by leaving all these bad omens.
Yeah.
Killing
Yeah.
the freaking. They killed the cat. Bastards.
I know.
Damn chip cat.
Yeah. I liked it how Rysn was able to talk them around from a bad omen to a good omen.
Yeah,
That scene.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, all the sailors are going to meet me right there,
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
going to go back.
It's like such a cool thing from our point of view because like we agree with her point of view, but like if it was a bad omen, it's kind of a dick move. You know what I mean?
Oh boy. All right. Well, I guess that does it for Dawnshard.
that does it.
I know we didn't do everything, but we do have lots to do tonight. And what we have to do tonight is talk about part 1 of Rhythm of War, which if you're watching this is probably where you should go next. So with that said, we're going to cheers, get some refills, take a quick break, get a hold of Manny and Captain.
And start
And
talking
discuss.
about
Start talking Rhythm of War.
Cheers.